Everybody, all right, everybody, from the power of live TV, which I know, I've said this a million friggin' times, blows my mind. I am today in Mexico City at a friend's house. I can call him my friend, although I've just met him for the first time. His name is Rob, and Rob and I are going to do some work together here in the education space. Last time I was live, well, 2 weeks ago, I was at Monterey Tech outside doing this LinkedIn Live solo, John, and there was literally like animals running around. I know you love the
I
animals at Monterey
remember.
Tech.
I remember
Yeah,
peacocks. Yeah,
peacocks, chickens, ducks, deer, crazy,
amazing.
and
Like
people
Twilight
people
Zone.
playing piano,
I saw that.
random
It was
people
really
playing
good.
piano. Yeah, so I think maybe maybe the theme of today's show is just show up. You just got to show up
Just gotta
because
show up.
both John and I are dragging right now. It's been a long haul here for me for the EdSales Elevation Experience. We're about to close out and get ready for a new cohort, and we're closing a launch today. And John is coming off of closing of the Milken competition, um, and so tell us about that.
Yeah. So we just closed applications for the Milken Penn GSE Education Business Plan competition, which is now in its 16th year. Super excited. We are considered the preeminent education business plan competition in the world. And we secured hundreds of applications from dozens of countries and just had an amazing response from purpose-driven founders from around the world. So applications are closed. We now go into our democratized judging phase where we're pretty serious about this, where we take a very hard look at the hundreds of applications that came in to narrow down to about 25 semifinalists who go through our virtual accelerator, Catapult Virtual Accelerator. And then we select our 7 finalists who compete on the big stage at Holland IQ in New York City on September 11th. So super exciting, exhausting, but really, really feeling great about the work that we're doing and
Yeah.
the founders that we're working with.
Yeah, I am I'm a judge of Milken. I'm a sponsor of Milken. I'll be in New York. I'll be in Philly in June for the one day event that everybody should go to. But when I got a text message from you this morning and we were just kind of prepping for the show, you said I'm dragging, and I'm thinking, man, why? Well, so talk to us about like, isn't every single one of these the same, or is there always something new, or people asking different questions this year? Or is it the administration messing things up? What's making things different this year?
Becoming a victim of our own success. So when I say hundreds of applications, we're several hundreds over what we've done in previous years. So everything
Wow.
changes when you have a incredible team of change makers, which we do, who all did their job and all rolled up their sleeves and all got the job done. And like
Yeah.
all contests, the close of the contest was last night at midnight East Coast time, and as fate would have it, we had several come in the last 10, 15 minutes, and we're always holding our breath. But the system's held. We were
Nice.
able to accept everyone, and now we're going through and getting ready for our judging period, which is exciting. But there were a lot of Ask Me Anything sessions and a lot of one-to-ones answering a lot of questions from the founders toward the end there that made it a bit of a drag in terms of how much time and energy has to be put into that. But we're okay. We're running to the shower in the morning and knowing that we're bound by our work and the purpose of what we're doing. The world events don't help. We're getting a lot of
Right.
questions regarding current administration and what's happening with funding and what's happening with grants. So that's happening in real time and doesn't do a lot for sleep either.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and I know that both for you and for me, it's affecting our personal lives as well. We'll leave that part out of it for now, but I think we're all feeling what's going on in Washington, and that I have a house in Capitol Hill, and I know you have ties to DC. Um, so you talk about systems. It's
Hmm.
such an interesting thing. I just had somebody sign up in between getting off this bus from one part of Mexico to getting to this part, sign up for the EdSales Elevation Experience, which is awesome. Hadn't even talked to him before. I certainly know the guy, so I'm super excited to have him as a part of our cohort. Cohort number 9 of the EdSales
Wow,
Elevation Experience. Can you
congratulations. That's
believe that?
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's like the unofficial number because I don't really release the numbers of like individual companies we work with, but by the end of this cohort we will have had 130-ish people, 130 teams go through the EdSales Elevation Experience, which is exciting. And so this guy signed up, and not sure what happened, but he reached like a 404. He paid, and then he reached a 404, and I'm like, oh, that's so embarrassing. And nobody else has had that, but I'm excited to have him. But it is kind of interesting how we're into our ninth cohort here, and we're leveling up our systems. Just
Yeah.
like you guys are constantly leveling up. When you level up your systems, you're bound to break stuff too, but you got to power through.
Yeah.
So for the EdSales Elevation Experience, we have, as of right now, we allow 10 companies, all in education, to join the cohort. The next cohort starts the last Tuesday in March. We have 5 of the seats sold, which is fine, because we have some time, and I've got a lot of people lining up for them. And it'll be 12 weeks of companies in education all meeting, for an hour and a half each week. And it's intense, man. And a lot of them are struggling with the same questions of, you know, uh, who's my main stakeholder? And I'm talking to them, and this. You got to sell to one stakeholder. You got to really narrow it down. And they're thinking, I shouldn't because I got to sell to everybody. And then we talk about credibility, and when you talk about credibility and being credible in the education space, I think a lot of imposter syndrome comes along with that. And, you know, we're in the education space. We're not supposed to really be selling. And then the next level up is the offer. And I know I talk to people about their offers a lot. And I was there, man. My offer was ambiguous as it could be when I
Hmm.
sold to schools in the after school space because I just wanted the deals. But at the end of the day, the clearer the offer, the faster the yes or the faster the no. Um, and then it comes down to messaging. And at the end of the day, to me, it's all about messaging. I don't care how credible you are, how long your list is, how clear your offer is, how many results you've given to people. If your messaging isn't clear, people will not sign up. Out of all those things I just talked about, I know you touch on them as well. If you had to pick one as the most important thing for an education company to focus on day one, what would it be?
I think doing the little things well, Josh, and as I've watched you develop the Ed Sales Elevation Experience, you and I know we attack successful strategic sales and distribution and education a little differently, and I've become a real believer in your method, to know that not only is this a relationship sales business that really, you can build businesses on developing trusted relationships, leveraging trusted relationships, selling in based on trusted relationships. But you have to do everything that you um, advise and coach on in the Ed Sales Elevation Experience really well, as in terms of having your signature solution, messaging that clearly, being confident in who are the users, who are the buyers, and what are the key
Hmm.
metrics that are going to drive a sale. And you've gotten really good at institutionalizing or systematizing this method so that people recognize that fast yeses and fast nos are important, and that the the ability to get to a fast yes is as much having a strong relationship or having a good referral from a strong relationship, which is kind of my world and how I've built education businesses. But when they go on LinkedIn or they see an email or they see how that solution provider is conveying pain points and what they can do to address pain points, critically important. And I've seen more and more of your clients, the people that you're coaching, become real believers if they do it well and they do it with intention. So my hat's off to you on ensuring that there's this balance between a relationship sell, but more of the kinds of sales and positioning that you're putting forth through the EdSales experience.
Thank you.
Elevation
Yeah,
experience.
we have you and I have a mutual connection who's in New York City who, I'm not going to mention his name. He happens to also be a big Philly guy, but living in New York City. And it took him 6 to 7 to 8 months to finally sign up. But I spent a lot of time talking to him. Granted, we went back and forth on Philly sports, but 95% of it was, about his tutoring company, and he was also pivoting to another company. And he joined the EdSales Elevation Experience. We're in the fourth week of his cohort. And in the third week, we get to the Raise Your Hand campaign. So we've done, really pared down and thought about ideal client. And I think when people hear ideal client there, they just gloss over. Like, oh, this guy's talking about ideal client. I know that crap. No, 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 no. I want to know public-private charter. I want to know where they sit. I want to know rural, urban. Like, I want to get deep with you, and I want to go down, and we can come back up, but let's niche as far down as we can, and then let's build your credibility on that. And if you work with rural principals in the Midwest, let's put that in your headline.
Right.
Let's tell those principals that you are there and can specifically help them. And then we get to the Raise Your Hand campaign, where we reach out to these people using LinkedIn, and we're able to prove that you've got the right client and that your credibility sings to them and that they're willing to meet you. And it's the beginning of doing targeted outreach, aka cold outreach. And so this guy hadn't done any really. And I've worked with some people who have been in, Chris and Corey from Rocket PD. These guys have been in sales for 20, 30 years in the education space. I'm like, try it this way. Give them your headline. I help who, using what method, get which results. And they say, now you understand how I can help you. What keeps you up at 3 a.m. that I can solve for you? And just don't talk. And then let them talk for 90% of the time. And this particular guy tried it. He left me a text message. I shared it with you, right? I sent it to you. I hope you're able to listen to it. And his mind was blown at what happened by just listening. And this principal was so impressed with his approach, he said, let's get to proposal. Let's talk. They met 2 days later, and he got his largest contract ever. Now, I can't say it out loud because he wants me to wait until like the actual contract is signed, and that shows me that he's like, smarter than I am, because I would have said something out loud. But I'm really proud of him, because to your point, you got to really buy in, and he has. And so we're seeing the results from people, and so I'm excited to have more people join the EdSales Elevation Experience. I'm having more companies come in than I ever have before, which shows me that this is working on a kind of a different level as well. Talk to me.
Maybe it's Josh. Maybe you're practicing what you preach, right? Maybe your signature solution is becoming more clear, and the methods by which these intentional practices translate into leads on repeat. Maybe you're doing an even better job now to convey the value, which is attracting more prospects, which is leading to more customers, satisfied customers.
I appreciate that, and I agree with you. And I'm always interested in hearing what you have to say and feedback from other people. I run towards objections and rejections. I'm less good at it inside my own house, but in business, I take it. And but one thing that you have talked to me about, and I'm really evaluating, um, is my approach to social media.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I think that I know that you see a lot of what I put out on social media, and it probably seems like a lot, but the algorithm knows that you will look at what I put out. So you see more than the average person. I'm not concerned about that. I think that I want to spend more time uh, talking about the success of my clients going forward. So I appreciate what you're saying. Yes, my signature solution is working. Um, we're getting the results, but I can tell you that I'm constantly tinkering with the systems, with the messaging myself. Clearly,
Yeah.
the system's tinkering, which is why this guy got a 404. So sorry. I'll handle that with my team, but also changing the messaging now.
Yeah,
And
but isn't iteration and adaptability part of the signature solution? Part of the method that you don't get you don't get intoxicated by your own success. You're constantly leaning in on objections, and you're leaning in on asking critical questions and relying on advisors to tell you if you're doing it the right way. I'm
it's
seeing you
very
do a
true.
lot of that, and I'm seeing you advise your clients to do that because, man, are we in an ever evolving world of education right
Yeah.
now, where today's principal purchaser is tomorrow's homeschooled parent, and therefore your customers, your clients, and those that are in the business of education need to be awake and open to that and be able to capture new opportunities through the different channels like social media and email and direct marketing. Whereas previously it may have been easier just to initiate or to work through the lens of a relationship sell.
Yeah, man. It's really interesting because this is truly John and I talk about a lot of stuff throughout the week through text message, through phone, through I send a lot of voice messages. He's probably tired of those. But we have not talked
I
about
love
this.
those. I just wish I knew how to do it.
You'll never learn. We have not talked about this. And what you're talking about right now is something that I truly have been talking to our clients about. I think one of them, Class Catalyst,
Hmm.
and Rob and his team. They have a social emotional learning tool. They've got a lot of success there. They're really rooted in Chicago, right in Chicago, and we've been really talking about how they have to change their messaging. And this is a great opportunity now. And I hate to use the word opportunity, but you used it to go back to these principals in Chicago and say, you had you had fires that you were putting out on January 19th. Those fires changed on January the 20th. And so your messaging has to be different and you can go and listen to people again. So I think that's kind of like what you're talking about here. It's chaos in Washington. It's chaos in the education space, but it also is a chance to help and therefore is an opportunity. Is that true?
Yeah, I think that is true, and I think people have to think about what is um, Trump administration or Doge proof, right? I think that AI is not going anywhere, and people who are thinking about creative applications of artificial intelligence and machine learning will have a chance. I think that career and technical education is an area of um, growth and development. I think that um, you know how we're using language like equity and how we're using language like social emotional learning has to be questioned, unfortunately, even though um, equitable access, equitable experiences, equitable outcomes in education is so critically important right now. We have to think about the accountability movement, and everything that we do has to have a metric and an outcome that can be measured, because when you're thinking about waste and fraud, the antidote to that is metrics and value. And so those that are going to succeed in this brave new world of Elon Musk and Doge and the Trump administration are going to be the ones that can codify their signature solution, deliver a service, measure it effectively, and make the buyer stakeholders who are consuming the applications or the solutions look like heroes. You do that, I like your chances. I want to make one more important point, because sometimes I worry, especially when we're a little tired working on fumes, that we're into glittering generalities. Let me tell you a little bit more about what I am seeing with this signature solution EdSales Elevation Experience. And stop me if I'm going a little bit too far, but this experience at ERDI was eye-opening as well, which is historically, underline all caps, an environment built around thought leadership and relationship selling and relationship solutions. And what's happened with some of your approach in coaching is synergy, which is, yes, developing a relationship and understanding what a superintendent or a chief academic officer is looking for or needs as it relates to their pain points is critically important. And that is what the Education Research and Development Institute is built on. But I saw a lot of solutions providers not only leaning in on that mantra or that value proposition, which again has been in existence at the RDI for 40 years, but also coming in and saying, it's not enough. I have to have the other basics buttoned down in order for this approach to a relationship sell or approach to a relationship management approach really work. And that was really cool to see 1 + 1 equals 5, and to see solutions providers valuing your method and leaning in on your method in as much as they were leaning in on making a presentation to a superintendent or a chief academic officer and presenting the features and benefits of their solution. I thought that was really cool.
Thank you. At ERDI, I obviously sat in on what you were talking about in your talk, and I'm going to ask you this question that I didn't get a chance to ask you there.
Okay.
And it kind of came back up in what you were talking about with Elon Musk and Trump and Doge. I'm going to ask you to say something nice about what they're doing.
Ooh. I don't know if I can really say something nice as much as I can say something that is irrefutable. And that is, they're not going anywhere, and they're serious about what they said they were going to do and what they're doing. And that is to take a very hard look at waste and fraud. Now, I may not personally agree with some of the approaches just to take mass cuts and to broad brush and to buy a media company like Twitter and then blast out your opinions. That notwithstanding, say something nice. I think those.
So let me rephrase it. Can you say tell us something valuable that they are doing? Is there any value in what they're doing?
Yes, absolutely. Taking a really hard look at waste and fraud and turning over the apple cart to really not broad brush it, I think is definitely something that's needed in our federal government. I think that big government spending is dangerous, and I think that we are bloated. I think that really thinking hard about how federal government money is spent is a good thing. No question about it. And I think that those solutions providers, those innovators, those customers that you have, Josh, those mentees that I work with, who don't say, "Oh, what are they doing? It's so terrible," but flip it a little and say, "What can I do to maximize my chances of being successful in this world that's going to favor accountability, favor measuring impact, favor education agenda priorities that this administration has said that they will value and fund career and technical education, internships, career pathways, parent choice, community engagement, science of reading and reading and literacy.
Right.
Those who can do that well are going to succeed, and
And it really,
those who just sit back and complain are going to get swept out, in my opinion.
I agree, and it really kind of comes full circle, I think, for you and for me. And we again, I don't think there's competition in between what we do, because there are just so many companies that we get to work with and people we can help and learn from. Um, and whether you go through the milking competition and all the rigors that come along with that, even your application process, and you put yourself through that, or you join the EdSales Elevation Experience, which is 12 weeks surrounded by 9 other companies pushing and pulling on your thoughts and your messaging and your credibility. You're going to come out the other end in a better place than you were before if you put the work in, and you are going to be better positioned in the eyes of Elon Musk and Donald Trump, I believe, for better for worse, to potentially make it on the other end with them.
Yeah.
Because you will not be seen as waste or fraud, because you will be able to clearly articulate how you can help the education system, how you can help a principal or a superintendent or a higher education. And that's really what we're getting towards here at the end of the day. And you guys, hammer research to practice. That's not my thing. I've learned it from you. But at the end of the day, if I'm on the messaging side and you're on the research to practice side, and we bring these things together, then you're in a better position to survive, other than a company who at this point is just talking about, rainbows and unicorns
Mm-hmm.
and
100%.
generalities.
Yeah, right. And so when the messaging and the research to practice and really coming up with a logic model that will deliver outcomes, and you said good for the principal, good for the assistant principal, good for the team. At the end of the day, great for students, right? Student centered. What are these applications, and how does it ultimately come down to students being more college and career ready and on a trajectory to a better position in life? We still have 70% of kids in this country that can't read proficiently. That is criminal, considering what we've spent on education. Now, there are a lot of reasons, and I don't cast any aspersions on certain approaches that have happened, and I don't play the blame game. I can make arguments for systemic issues that have come into play here, but also in terms of how our education institution has failed our students, and that we need to approach it in a different way. And I think that we will. And I think that as we ebb and flow through these political cycles, I hope we don't forget who's the biggest and highest priority for us, and that's the student. It's our future generations that we have to think about as we're getting our messaging right, and as we're thinking about a logic model that's going to deliver some sort of an outcome.
100%. Well, let's look forward. What's today? Today's Thursday. So I'll see you in 9 days, I believe, maybe 10, depending on if you get in Sunday or Monday, at South by Southwest EDU
The
in
Lone
Austin.
Star State. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
that'll be really exciting. Have you been to South by? You've been there, right? For South by
It's been a
Southwest EDU,
while,
right?
but I have been there. It
Okay.
is awesome. Austin's an incredible place, and there'll be a lot of our usual suspects who we'll see there.
That's exciting. So John and I are hosting an event, and we've got a wonderful guy. His name is Moby, not Moby the musician, but this guy probably is a rock star as well. Our Moby, and we're going to host this event for education entrepreneurs, founders to come and meet each other. And Moby's going to bring the magic. John is judging an event as well. That's on Monday, I believe, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
launch business plan competition.
That's exciting. And I have, they have these really cool things. They call them, I think they're called brain dates. I don't know if you saw if that
I
that
saw that. Yeah, I
floats up
think
to
that's
you.
cool.
So
Yep.
yeah, and so I know you're the prince, so you don't have to do things like that. But I signed up for two of them. I set up two of them, which is basically, and obviously South by Southwest EDU, they don't get any 404s on what they do, right? Their tech
No,
is killer. And so super cool. Like you sign up. And so I posted for this brain date and I said, hey, I'm open to talking to anybody about lead gen systems for your education company and also how to convert your LinkedIn profile to a sales funnel. And I've gotten a couple people who have said, hey, I want to meet. So that's pretty exciting. And then after that, I'm flying up to DC and hoping to meet with the DC Startup Week people to get organized for that, and meet with some DC folks. So that's the road ahead.
it's awesome.
And then let's look a little further down the road. April, ASU GSV, you're in for that, right?
Yep, we're in with that. We're hosting a happy hour with EdTech Insiders, so we're excited about that. More to come over social media to promote that. Uh, but yeah, we're excited.
Then let's
Then
look a
we
little further ahead to
June Innovation Summit.
my new favorite conference.
Yeah,
Do we have a date?
June 6th. I think there's going to be a June
Okay.
5th, June 6th. We're working on double dates right now with a little bit of
Ooh,
an evening social going into the June 6th summit date. So we're finalizing everything there, and we'll keep everybody posted.
good. That's breaking news because last year, first year, it was a 1 day thing and it was super packed and really wonderful, but extended out a little bit. So, for everybody who is interested in conferences, there's a few there. South by Southwest EDU, which is in Austin, March the 3rd, I think. ASU GSV early April. June is the Catalyst event. Last week, I spent some time talking about conferences, and we're going to release that show because conferences used to be something that I failed mightily at, and it was because I um, didn't know my ideal client. I didn't have any credibility. I didn't have an offer, and I didn't message correctly. And now conferences are really wonderful things to go to. So I hope that people can experience that as well. And I guarantee you, if you go through Catalyst or if you go through the EdSales Elevation Experience, conferences will become worthwhile for you as well.
100%.
So, John, we pushed through here, and I appreciate you going on fumes. Just one last thing. Are you able to tell us at least by how many applications did you exceed last year?
Hundreds.
Hundreds. That's
Yeah, so
amazing.
hundreds of applications from over 50 countries. And as I said in my post, some really cool exotic places are doing some game-changing things in education, from New Zealand to Kathmandu to Beijing, China to Nicaragua and Guatemala. A lot of LATAM, where we just came from and we're focused on. Um, just amazing. Couple of really unbelievable ventures from Argentina and in Colombia. Even had a couple Venezuela companies. So it's really a global phenomenon, and it's so fun to think about how these 25 semifinalists will come together and start engaging together through our Catapult Virtual Accelerator and getting prepared for the finals and ultimately the presentations on the big stage.
It's exciting, man. As you're saying all that, I am truly, from the bottom of my heart, excited for you. And I think that I just want to always bring this up that we don't compete, and that
No, never. No, I think it's synergy. Yeah,
like it's synergy, and I want people also to recognize that in the education space, that do competitions. Don't worry about you know who else is joining. Like just give it a shot. Join the cohort and let it all hang out. And that's how you get to know people. That's how you get to help people. Um, and so I think it goes back to that, what we said at 101 here when we went live in the central time zone. Just show up.
Yeah,
and
no
just
way. I'll
show
take
up and
that.
do
I'll
your
take that
best.
a little bit further. I'll use an analogy. As you know, I make a lot of referrals of ventures to the philanthropic community to secure grants, and to
Mhm.
the venture capital community. And when I know that somebody's gone through the EdSales Elevation Experience, it's almost like the musician who came out of the Harlem Children's Choir.
Mhm.
If they've been trained and they've gone through that proving ground, it means they've built the muscles on their messaging, on their signature solution, on the pressure testing of how they're bringing that out to market in a way that it gives me more confidence to refer them. So that's how much I don't think this is a competition, as much as I want them to be reinforced by your coaching and training.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate you showing up every single day, supporting everybody, helping me. I know today, obviously, it was a long day, long night, um, but get some rest.
You too.
I will get
Have
some
fun this
rest as
weekend.
well. I
Yes.
will have some fun this weekend in Mexico City. I got three of my college buddies are all flying in from different places right now, so it's probably going to be a long weekend.
I'll look forward to
Um,
the
but
photos
we'll
and
make it
the texts.
we'll make it a good one. Thanks for showing up, John. Thank you everybody else for showing up here. And we'll restream this at on Sunday. If you missed it, we'll restream it on Sunday. And just everybody keep pushing through. It's really important that we push through what's going on right now. We support each other, do competitions, do cohorts, show up for each other, help each other out, and let's push through. Thank you
Hasta
everybody for
luego.
showing up, John.